Hi everybody, welcome on our webinar for the latest cutting techniques.
Today we're going to show you how we can create these wonderful haircuts.
My name is Patrick Kalle, International Business Development Director.
My name is Richie Jordan, Color Director of Farouk Systems.
And in this webinar we're going to show you these 4 beautiful haircuts. We're going to talk about the crop, some influences from the 90s.
And we're going to talk about the shag and the nice fringe over here and the longer lengths here at the sides.
And what about these chandeliers layers, these beautiful layers who like to bounce outside, and a great technique to create a fringe in the area.
And of course the mullet. Business at the front and party at the back.
Especially in the party, we're going to show you in the webinar, we're going to show you all the ins and outs of these 4 beautiful cuts.
Have fun.
Take care.
What we're going to do today is show you some really nice cutting techniques. And today I'm going to cut the mullet. You know, that one from the 80s, but with a touch of course, of the 2020. First of all, we start with sectioning the hair. That's really important because then we have a good overview in what we are doing and you can work a little bit faster. So I'm going to show you my sectioning. You see there's a triangle over here. Then I make a horizontal sectioning over there. Sectioning at the side and also on the other side. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, one big section over here. And this big section here in the nape area, there is where I'm going to start. What I'm going to do is make some really nice layered hair over here. So I take my razor and I take vertical partings. So imagine that here is the occipital bone and the shortest part is going to be at the occipital bone. So you get a sort of a layered hair over here, and from here that's going directly to increasing layers. So I take a vertical parting over here. I comb the hair horizontal, and this is going to be my guideline. So here I can find the occipital bone, and there's where my starting point is. So at first I go vertical. And then the second part I'm going to making more increasing lengths. So from here I shift my hands in this direction. So here is it vertical and here is it more increasing layers. So I'm going to follow this same technique around this whole part over here. So it's a traveling guideline, so I move around with my cutting line. My first section is vertical until I reach the other side of the underneath the occipital bone, and then I'm going to increase the lengths until I reach this section over here. I walk along with my partings, and then I'm straight in a straight line in front of my parting. There we go. So this is my first part, and directly you see a sort of a weight line, and this is the weight line I mean. So here's that weight line, and here are the increasing lengths. I'm doing the same on the other side. Also out of the middle to this part and from middle to this part. Again, vertical partings comb the hair horizontal, cut vertical until I reach this point underneath my occipital bone. And here in the nape area, I'm increasing the length by shifting the hands towards me. The last section on the other side, also here, the first part vertical, the second part in the nape area more increasingly, so I shift it towards me. Now you see this wonderful sort of head-hugging shape already here. Here this weight line and here the longer lengths. Okay, now we move to the sides. What we're going to do here is also a really nice technique. It looks really interesting, and it is of course also really interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift the hair really intense. So I'm going to shift it to the ceiling. So here I take this whole part here, a big part over here, and I have a guideline, and that's over here. So this is my guide. What I'm going to do now is open my fingers, pinch it through that section, and now I'm gonna cut really nicely, pinch it in this direction. So and now I see here already my same weight line. Now I take my second part, also shift it all the way up, this whole part. I open my fingers between, I close it and I pinch 1, 2, 3, and now here is my guideline, and now I cut and directly I shift it. So I shift it towards me to create more length. And what you see is you get this really nice graduated hair. Then we go to the other side. Also here the same. I take half part of this side over here. Again, I'm gonna shift it all up. Here is my guideline. So I'm gonna again pinch this hair, and I'm gonna make really nice soft layers over here. This is my first part. So here directly I see my weight line. Then I go to the second part. Again I shift it all up. I use the same technique. Again, my fingers between the hair. I pinch it, and now I slide softly towards me to make increasing lengths here at the side. If I comb the hair down, I see here my weight line, and I see here these last longer soft layers. After cutting the exterior, we're gonna do the interior. So I'm gonna release it. I'm gonna use keratin mist. I really love this product. I use it a lot as a cutting lotion. It directly builds the hair, it makes the hair stronger, and we all know what keratin does to the hair. But for 90% I use it also directly as a cutting lotion. So what we're going to do over here is connect this part to the parts over here. I take a vertical parting, and then here is my guideline, and from this guideline I use my eraser again. Here's my guide, and directly cutting in increasing lengths over here. Yep. We're gonna repeat this also on the other side. So first from the middle to this side and then from the middle to this side. So again, I take a vertical parting. Here is my guideline. That's that weight line. Then I'm gonna use my razor and cut underneath my fingers over here and go up, up, up. So that the longer layers are here on top, so they cover the shorter layers over here. So you get this really nice weight line. Again. Cutting underneath your fingers, going up. After cutting the interior, we're going to do the fringe. We're going to cut the fringe, and this can be a really nice, a little bit shorter fringe over here. I change from tools, from my razor to my scissor. I take a small horizontal parting, and I'm going to freehand cut this in the length I want to have. So I just slice cut the hair in this really nice shorter fringe. So I make this movement like this. So it's not entirely slicing because I open and close the scissor. So it's totally free hand cutting. Take my second section. And of course I want this layer a little bit on top of the other layers. So also here I'm going to find my layers, and there I cut it. Pinch the hair. Here's my guideline underneath. There is where I put my scissor in, and then I make small movements like this. Pinch the hair. I'm going to continue this whole technique, but make sure that it's going to be a sort of a heavy weight line on top. So don't project the hair too much. Keep the projection really low, so the layers are going on top of each other. I distribute the hair in a natural fall. And you can almost feel your guideline, because if you take it between your fingers and you slide it, you slide it, you slide it, you slide it, and there you feel the tension, so it's going to loosen it, and there is your guideline. Okay, a small recap of what we did. First, we sectioned the hair. Triangle, horizontal, small part over here in front of the ear, small part in front of the ear over there. Then we started here in the nape area. Vertical parting, horizontal distribution. First we use our razor and make a vertical slice, and then we make increasing lengths to create this length over here. Then we go to the side, and there we lifted the hair like this between our fingers, use the razor again and cut it, cut it, cut it. And the second part also real high projection, and after that we slide it and we slide it, we slide it. So we create this really nice length over here, right? Nice, yeah, thin, transparent parts. Then we go to the top layers over here. We're going to connect it to the layers over there and make with our razor increasing lengths in this form. Finally, for our haircut, we go to the fringe, and there we did freehand cutting, small parts, freehand cutting, freehand cutting, freehand cutting, and determine your lengths, and you get this really nice transparent fringe. And afterwards, to make this a little bit more texture in the hair, we comb the hair in different directions, and then we use our scissor and made some small cuts over here, so to create a little bit more air between the layers. And then you get this really, really nice mullet cut, a haircut from the 80s back in the 2020.
What we see here is one of our beautiful cuts for our collection for this autumn winter 20, but also a direction of 21 spring. This is the 90s crop. And if you take a look to the sectioning what we did, it's very interesting sectioning. We sectioned the interior from the exterior. And when we take a look to the interior part, you see that I already sectioned 5 parts. But technically, this is going to be more parts because I'm going to devise these triangles in split later on. So you see that I took a fringe horizontally and I took 4 triangles at the interior part. We'll start focusing on the exterior area where we're going to use the razor over comb technique to create a beautiful soft shape what we really like to create. What do we want to create? Let's take a look to the 90s where Madonna had this really short croppy hairstyle, and that's where we're going to focus on. So beautiful curving, the curve of the scalp, so almost like a head hugging shape, using razor or scissor, whatever is comfortable for you, but also of course on the quality of the hair, and we're going to follow the curve of the scalp. If you use the razor, like the one I use, we have right-handed people and we have left-handed people. And really important is that you move the razor as well as from right to left as left to right. Let me show you how that works. So when we start at the sides, at the temple area over here, we take the white side of the comb, like this. We project the hair about 90 degrees and we move the razor. And as you can see now, I move the razor from right to left. But in the same time, I'm taking the hair again and I'm moving the razor from left to right. So from right to left and right to left to right. And this way you create a beautiful direction of the hair. Let me also show you the difference if you move just from one side than the other side. If you move only the razor from, for example, right to left, you can see that the ends want to move only in the back area, so only to the back. But if you move the razor also to the front, you see clearly now that the hair wants to direct in both directions, and this gives you much more styling options than just in one direction. What you can do at the sides here, at the hairline, at the contour, we can take the comb a little bit more diagonal and move parallel to the curve of the scalp. Move your razor, you see, so it's almost like a half a circle rotation, and that gives us technically a little bit shorter start and an increase to the back. So this is almost like a graduated form, but it makes it also really nice and sleek. Another great option now is you keep the length here. So for example, you still can wear the hair behind the ear as a styling variation. So after creating the length at the sides, we start in the back area, and then in this area right behind the ear. We're going to do it exactly the same. The teeth of the comb are positioned towards the scalp, and we move the razor from right to left and from left to right. And we keep alternating this technique until we reach the other side of the nape. So while you work yourself from the right to the left side, we automatically can see the softness in the contour lines, and we can accentuate this by the razor over comb to do it horizontal, like I just show you now. So I'm actually pushing the hair in the lower nape area, even along the contour lines, to create that nice wispy, soft, really 90s look around the contour line. So after cleaning the contour lines with the razor over comb technique, you see that you get that really beautiful soft effect in the lower nape area. We're going to the other side of the temple area, and here we do actually the same on the other side. So we're going to mirror our technique, and that means that we're going to work from the contour line up to the top by following the curve of the scalp. We start low and we move the razor from left to right, but at the same time from right to left. From left to right and from right to left. Important is, of course, that you move your razor over your comb and not behind your comb. Behind your comb, then we sometimes create these oops effects where it becomes a little bit too short. So it's really important to move it over the edge of the comb, working yourself from the front to the back, moving the razor from left to right and right to left. And as you can see now, I'm working slowly to the back. I'm connecting my back area with the temple side area. Also here on the sides, I'm going to copy the technique what I just did on the other side, and that means that I'm going to position my comb also diagonal to the back and make that curve movement with the razor to create a soft graduated form at the side. So we really get that really nice tapered look here at the contour lines. We did the razor over comb technique at the sides, and now it's time to go focus on the 4 triangles at the interior part. So I'm going to release the first one here in the front area, and what I'm going to do, this first triangle here, I'm going to split it. So I'm going to make 2 triangles of 1 triangle. And in the right triangle, which I'm projecting right now to the ceiling, I'm going to create an increasing length. That means that I'm going to start from the crown area short and that my exterior part is longer. So I'll work from short to long. Project the hair to the ceiling, position your fingers diagonally, so you can see that the fingers are more in a diagonal form. Bring it back to the base and we cut it straight parallel to your fingers. So it's a really precise increase layering technique from short to long. Then the next triangle, I'm going to split this triangle again in 2 triangles. I'm going to leave the next one long, and the next triangle is also projected to the ceiling. I can take my guideline from a previous one with me, project it 90 degrees, your fingers are in increased layered form. We bring it back and we cut parallel to our fingers in an increased layered form. Next triangle at the crown area, release it. We split the triangle, we leave one part long, and we continue working with the other triangle, also projecting it to the ceiling, and at the same time we can take a guideline from our previous line with us, project it to the ceiling, take your guideline with you. There we will want to start cutting, bring it back to the base, and we cut in an increased layered form parallel to your fingers. So now what we have done, 50% of the whole interior is cut in an increasing length. In the meantime, we still have 4 sections long, and in these sections we're gonna make a complementary cutting technique, which is exactly the opposite. And that's not increasing layers, but that will be a graduated form. So for this graduated form, we're going to start at the front hairline, the same as we just started to create our increased layers. So we can see here our longer a section of hair in the front hairline. This area we will project not to the crown because that gives us increased layered form, but we'll bring it more in an angle of about 45 degrees. And this way, we bring it back and we cut it. And automatically now you can understand why we subsectioned the front fringe area. Because by cutting this graduation, this might end up too short for your feeling. But there is still an area underneath it here where you can connect your fringe. So here we are creating now a graduated form. And these both forms, increased layered is more an oval shape, a graduation is more triangle shapes, and these two shapes are going to play and actually fight with each other, and that gives us that beautiful movement at the interior area. By the way, this technique works perfectly in the interior area because that's where the hair is laying down. At the side or in the back where the hair is hanging in the exterior, you get a total different effect. So also here we can see exactly our longer area where we're going to take up. So here we see our triangle still split up. So we bring it out, project it about 45 degrees. There we go. We cut parallel to our fingers. And this is the way how we're going to follow the curve of the scalp. Next triangle with our graduation. And here we can see our longer version. This one we're going to project in our graduation. And you can see that I'm exactly following the curve of the scalp. And the last section on the other side. Now, is there a way, you wonder probably, how can I check it? Well, there's not a serious way how you can actually check it. The way how you can check it is by feeling, touching, combing and analyzing it by eye. So that gives you that feeling. Because what we are looking for is this 90s feeling where there's a lot of contrast in length, but still a little bit blending. Of course, in the increased layered form over here at the top, there will be a soft overlap on the shorter areas in the bottom part. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our razor and remove the maximum discoordination of these lengths. But we really love to have still that little soft disconnection. Wait until we start with the fringe, just comb the hair down, and as you can see right now already, there's not a big disconnection. Everything is blending nicely together. But in case you have a little bit disconnection, just rotate the razor vertically through the hair, and this blends nicely the interior from the exterior. You can do this backwards or you can do this forwards. As soon as you make this blend between the interior and exterior, we can start working to the fringe area. And releasing the fringe. So in the fringe, what we like to do is we like to make a short but movable fringe, which is easy to move from left to right, but also from right to left. And a great way to cut this fringe is not to make it too much in a concave, because it gives us a short length in the middle and longer lengths at the side, but opposite direction. So what we actually have to do, we have to start working in a convex. That means that in the middle it's longer and the sides are softly shorter. How are we going to do this? We're going to do this as follows. We first comb the hair diagonal, like this. Going to take a section parallel to the way how we just comb the hair. We do a perpendicular distribution. Our fingers are standing parallel to our parting, and we move our razor from short to long. Important, as you can see, I'm not moving my fingers. The razor is doing his work, so only the razor is moving. Next section. You can project it a little bit higher. That gives us a softness, more softness at the fringe. Working from short to long. You continue doing this until there is no length coming over your previous line. As you can see on the right side and top line, it's quickly done with the length, but here in the front you can still see that there's still length. Just continue combing. Here there's nothing to cut. Here there's a little bit more to cut. And we cut it off. Now what we have on this side, already the start of the convex. Now what we have to do on the other side is exactly the same. First of all, we distribute the hair to the other side. We take our first guideline. There you go. And we distribute the hair perpendicular. Important here is we use the razor overhand, so we have on both sides of the fringe the same feeling and texture. Distributing the hair to the other side. Position your fingers parallel to your parting and move your razor parallel to your fingers. You continue doing this until there is no hair left, and then let's take a look in the front. We see a beautiful convex, and that means that there's a V in the middle. That gives me the possibility to style the hair to the left, but also wonderful to style it to the right. So this way you have a lot of styling possibilities. See, this is really getting the 90s crop, the fun in the interior part where these two different shapes are playing with each other, like the graduated form in the increased layered form, and this gives me a little bit distraction in the length, and that's really something what I really love to see. You see the movement of all these different types of hair. And all these techniques, how can we blend them? Well, there's only one way how we can do it. What I like to do is distribute the hair a little bit in the direction of styling, and I take some diagonal lines, just large diagonal lines. It's not a reason that you take it starting at the front area, but as you can see, I just start behind it. Here's your shortest two short points, that means the graduated form. And what I'm going to do is take the razor, or scissor in this case, and I'm going to use it as a razor. So I'm going to slice through the hair from short to long. And actually what you do, you weave with the point of the comb and with the scissor, and you move the scissor to the length. So you take a triangle area, project it up, use your scissor and weave your scissor, and then you use your scissor as a razor. You push it actually to the end. And what is technically the difference between using the scissor for this technique or the razor for this technique? It's quite simple. If you use the scissor, you're actually creating a V in the hair. So you cut from both sides and you work from a wider side to almost one hair. The razor is also called like a feather razor, and it gives you more a diffused feathered effect. So there is a difference between using the razor, which is even more softer than this, but this gives me more a connection between the layers and the increased layered form. So what we did, we started at the sides by using the razor and the razor over comb. Really important is following the curve of the scalp and moving your razor from right to left and left to right. And it gives me that possibility of styling and restyling. Then in the interior part we created 3 triangles which we split again, and 50% of these triangles are cut with an increased layered form, and the other 50% are cut with a graduated form, and it gives us this beautiful texture. In the front, the fringe area, we created a strong convex. That means that it's longer in the middle and shorter at the sides. And this gives me, in the shorter types of hair, beautiful styling options. Either style it from left to right, right to left, but a beautiful movement. And this is what we really saw also in the 90s, where we were playing with the hair. It's almost parallel to the scalp, and it gives you a beautiful, round, textured feeling. Thank you for watching. My name is Patrick Halle.
Our next haircut, the shag, was also a sort of a haircut what we saw a lot in the 90s, with these fringes going a little bit outside, a lot of layers, and the shortest parts here more at the crown area. Okay, how can we cut it? Well, it's a really nice technique. But first we start by sectioning. What I did a small section over here at the crown area. This is also the part where I'm going to start. From here I'm going to this area over here. Then I move to the front, and finally I go to the sides. So the way I explain it, that's why we do sectioning, because you can do it in different sections, so it's really easy and really fast. Okay, first of all, we start at the crown area. I'm going to release the crown area over here. I take my scissor, and what I'm going to do, this is going to be the shortest point. So I make a subsection here in the middle. And this is going to be my guide point for the whole haircut. So it depends on how extreme you want to do it. If you make it, of course, if you make it shorter, it's going to be more extreme. If you make it a little bit longer, it's going to be less extreme. But keep in mind that this part over here should not be too low. If it's too low, it's going to be too much weight over here. But if it's too short, it's going to be too jumpy over here. So it has to be a little bit, the weight line has to be on the occipital bone. Yeah, so that's my guideline. So here we go. I distribute the hair 90 degrees from the skull, and I'm gonna point cut the hair like this. This is a traveling guideline. So I'm going to take my next part over here and move it along around the scalp, and here also along with the scalp, from the inside to the outside. So this was this part, and I'm going to this part. I'm staying on the same side of the model, and here I'm doing the same. Take my guideline, point cut the hair, so I get here a round shape over here. There we go. So now we can see directly our weight line that is over here. Now I'm going to connect the crown area to the lengths underneath. And I'm going to do it like this. I take vertical partings, I take my scissor, and I go directly from here, and I go down, directly towards me. So I'm respecting the length over here, but I'm just gonna connect shorter lengths from here to there. This is gonna be a stationary cutting line. So I move the hair more to the middle, so to my previous cutting line. Cut it like this. And what you also see is that I keep my hand still. So I don't lower my hand. I'm not lowering my hand like this. My hand stays in the same position. It's only shifting towards me. So look at the angle of my comb. That's also going to be the angle of the position of my hands. And now I only shift it towards me. Like this. Until I reach the last part. You see, I comb the hair horizontal, but the position of my fingers is diagonal. And I go like this. Also in the nape area, and distribute all the hair to that first part. first sectioning. There we go. Okay, we repeat the same technique on the other side, so we go from the middle to this side and from the middle to this side. So I take a vertical parting, I distribute the hair to my stationary cutting line. My stationary cutting line is here in the middle, and you see that I comb the hair horizontal, and out of this horizontal position I put my scissors like this and I shift it towards me. After creating the layers in the back, I'm going to the interior over here, and also here I want to make this really nice layers, but increasing layers to the front. So what I'm going to do, I take this whole section and I take again parting in the middle here. Here's my guideline there, and what I'm going to do again is take a diagonal. I'm going to put my fingers diagonal and I'm going to cut underneath my fingers. So I'm going to cut over here. So again, slice cutting, slice cutting, slice cutting, and then going to increasing lengths. This is also going to be a stationary cutting line. So I pivotate everything out of this point here at the crown area. I distribute the hair all to my stationary cutting line in the middle. Here's my guideline, and I'm going to cut underneath my fingers. This direction. After we did the interior, I'm going to this side over here, and of course later on the other side. What I'm going to do is take vertical parting, and here the parting behind my ear is my stationary cutting line. So what I'm going to do, take a small part also from here. There's also an extra guideline. And we're going to distribute all the hair to that stationary cutting line. And here also between the head and my fingers, I'm going to slice cut the hair. Distribute the hair again to my stationary cutting line, slice cut it, shift the hand towards me. I'm not going to lower my hand, I'm only going to shift my hand. I'm not going to do it like in this direction, I'm only going to do it in this direction. So, and because I work with the stationary cutting line, I distribute the hair more to the back, so I'm getting more increasing lengths over here. After we did one side, we're going to the other side, of course. We're going to do the same technique. Here is my parting. This is my second parting. I take a small extra guide from here. And my stationary cutting line, I'm going to work with the stationary cutting line is going to be here. So again, I comb the hair horizontal. There is my guideline, and I'm going to slice cut it, slice cut it, slice cut it to my longer length. Stationary cutting line means again vertical parting. Distribute the hair, everything just behind the ear to my stationary cutting line, and again slice cut it until I reach my final parting, my final part over here. And because I distribute the hair all to the back to my stationary cutting line, I create increasing lengths towards the front, towards here. So here I've got these wonderful layers, but still I have the longer lengths over here. And that's the difference between a mullet and a shag. After the sides, it's time for the fringe. I want the fringe to go a little bit like a curtain going outside. So short hair pushes long hair away. So I want to create a shorter parts of hair in the middle, graduated, so that they push it to the side. So what I'm going to do, I have a triangle over here. I'm going to take a vertical parting and I cut around the shape of the skull, like this. So here is going to be a shorter point and there is going to be a longer point. Okay? And if I now let it go like this, the shorter hair is pushing the longer hair away. This is also going to be a stationary cutting line. So I distribute all the hair to the middle to create length towards the sides. And I don't going to point cut it, just make a really clean cut because I over direct the hair. So after that directly it's flowing really nicely. I'm going to show you what happens here at the side, at the front. Now I have shorter lengths over here and I push the hair more into this direction. Okay, a small recap of what we did. First of all, of course, really important, the sectioning. I had a section over here, a rounder shape, and a highest point of the head just behind the ears. Section over here, section over here. I started with the crown area because that's the most important part of this haircut, because from out of this crown everything flows in every direction. Here we did the point cutting like this, so we followed the rounder shape of the crown area. After that we increased the length towards the longer lengths at the end, like this and like this. Then I created this nice and croppy feeling here at the top layers, at the interior. So I took the hair like this and I sliced it underneath, slice cutting underneath my fingers in increasing lengths. So stationary cutting line and pivotated partings, everything to the middle. Then the sides, also to create a little bit more length over here, I distribute everything to the stationary cutting line behind the ear, and of course also on the other side. And to create this really nice fringe that's going a little bit outside, we cut the fringe more in a rounder shape, so it follows the shape of the scalp, and we cut it in this direction, also in a stationary cutting line. So the shortest point is going to be in the middle and the longer parts are going to be at the sides. So now you get this really nice haircut with longer layers over here. And you see this long layers and a sort of a choppy, a croppy feeling over here, and then directly these really nice longer layers at the sides. Shorter fringe, perfect haircut.
Hi, I'd like to share with you the chandelier layering technique and a beautiful fringe area what is going to be combined in this technique. Let's first focus on the fringe area. As you can see, I sectioned a triangle in the fringe area, which is a little bit wider than a normal fringe, so it is a little bit more extended towards the back. What we're going to do is we're going to take this section and split this section in the middle part. And then we will focus on one side and the other side. So first we take the left side away and I'm going to focus on the right side. The parting pattern what we're going to follow is parallel to my section. So as you can see, it's going to be diagonal. So I'm going to take my first diagonal parting, which is parallel to my sectioning, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute it perpendicular. Then what determines now my length? I think it's the easiest way to do it as followed. If you take a look in the natural fall, you can exactly see where the length is going to fall. So if you want to go in towards the chin length, then of course your fingers have to touch the chin, and then we can start projecting the hair perpendicular. If I cut the hair now here parallel to my fingers, I know exactly that it's going to be on the chin length. This technique gives me a beautiful frame around their face in combination with the chandelier layering. So here we go. We distribute the hair perpendicular, like this. We take our scissor, and I do not want to cut a really straight line, but more like a little bit softer effect. So what I'm going to do, first determine my length, then distribute the hair perpendicular, position my fingers parallel to the parting, and then I'm going to start doing my point cutting technique. And the point cutting technique, as you can see, that one blade is resting on my finger, and that's why I can create that beautiful soft point cutting effect. And as you can see, we're exactly on the chin length. Next parting we take, I'm using a stationary design line. That means that you bring all the hair to that first line, distribute the hair with the fine side of the comb, gives me a more precise effect, distribute it nice and even. You see your guideline, and point cut again behind your fingers. We continue taking sections in the fringe parallel to the sectioning, which is diagonal. Distribute the hair perpendicular and take your previous guide with you as a guideline. Use your fine side of the comb and position your fingers parallel to your parting. Make sure you see your guideline, and we do the point cut technique in the ends. Distribute nicely and do the point cutting technique parallel to your fingers. There you go. This automatically gives me a fringe which is actually wants to move backwards. Short hair is pushing long hair away, so I automatically create these beautiful fringe in the side. So after creating the beautiful fringe on the right side, we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Just take a simple guideline with you just next to the middle, come this side away, position your body on the other side of your client, and continue working in sections and partings parallel to your sectioning. So we take a diagonal section, distribute the hair perpendicular, and position your fingers parallel to your parting. When you do this, you see your guideline now on the right side, and use this as a length reference to cut with a point cutting technique. Continue working in diagonal partings parallel to the sectioning, and using that first line as a stationary design line. And the last section, use the fine side of the comb for a nice distribution. Everything is brought to your stationary design line, and position your fingers parallel to your parting. Take a look to the end result of the fringe area. You see it's a strong concave, means it's shorter in the middle and longer at the sides. Short hair is pushing long hair away, so you automatically get that feeling that the hair really likes to move outward and blend into the chandelier layers in the back. You can check the fringe, of course, if it's in balance, by using your fingers. Another way how you can do it, you can take the whole fringe in once, like this, bring it over your comb, and then you automatically see your shortest point in the middle, and that the corners are getting longer. So that's the concave where we talk about, and that gives us that beautiful feeling in the front. All right, so the main effect of this chandelier layers is not that we make a connection here, but it's more like a horizontal layering in a soft slice effect, but we have to respect the length of the hair. So what we are going to do is the following. I'm going to start at the side, at the temple area, and I'm going to project the hair horizontal. My fingers are facing the ceiling, and then I'm going to determine my length. Like I said, I do not want to connect it, so I take this guide in between my fingers. I slide further. Now it's not connected anymore, as you can see. Position your fingers vertical and project the hair horizontal. Take your scissor almost like you're playing darts, like this. It's open. Position in an angle of 45 degrees and move your scissor towards the existing length in a beautiful slice motion. So we started taking the first section. The second section is a traveling guide. I take my next vertical parting and I take my previous line with me. Distribute the hair horizontal. Position your fingers vertical. Make sure you see your guideline from your first slice, which is over here. And then you take the scissor and you turn the scissor around like this. Slide your fingers through. Position your scissor in an angle of 45 degrees. And then we move with our scissor towards the existing ends by respecting the existing length. So these were the first two sections. We're always almost at the highest point of the ear, and we continue. Like I just said, we take our previous guideline with us. So the first one, we can leave it behind. Project the hair horizontal, and this is really important. So make sure this is horizontal, this point, and your fingers are vertical. And then it's time to take your scissor. Make sure you see your guideline. Position your scissor in an angle of 45 degrees and we slice to the existing length of hair, like this. If you do this technique and you see your client moving in the direction as you move your scissor, then it might be time for a new scissor to do this slice cutting technique. So comb the hair, fine side of the comb, horizontal projection. Fingers are vertical, make sure you see your guideline. Position your scissor 45 degrees and move it towards the existing length. And now what you can see is beautiful chandelier layers, which are almost like horizontal layering, but with respect of the length. And in combination with that fringe, then you get that beautiful 2021 look. So I'm working all the way from one side to the other side and taking your previous length with you, using eventually the fine side of the comb for a beautiful distribution. Comb the hair horizontally, position your fingers vertical, there you go. Position your scissor 45 and you make your movement. Wow. This is so beautiful, you see. So with respect of the existing length, creating these beautiful layers, chandelier layers. So these layers really, even in this XXL length, they still want to go outside. They want to have movement in the hair while respecting the length. And that's exactly the feeling what we wanted to create in this look. It's simple, fast and quick, and that's where it's all about, especially in long hair. So section the fringe, overlap the fringe from left to right and right to left with a perpendicular distribution technique that gives you that fringe what likes to move outside. And all the layers here interiorly are sliced. Project the hair horizontal, keep your fingers to the ceiling and position your scissor in 45 degrees. And that gives you that beautiful look, that really great feeling in the hair. We hope you liked our webinar on the latest cutting techniques. These trends right now you can see worldwide on the streets.
Yeah, and Patrick, how much fun was it and is it to bring the 80s and the 70s back to 2020?
Yeah, it's wonderful, Richard. And what you see in this techniques, what we showed you today, is a lot of variety and length and techniques, razor techniques, cutting techniques, and a lot of variety and texture. Beautiful chandelier haircut with a shorter fringe. Nice technique. And the shortest version is our crop from the 90s.
And what about the most extreme one, the mullet?
Business in the front.
Party at the back. And the ultimate 80s, but also the ultimate 2020, the shag.
If you have any questions on this webinar, please do not hesitate to contact us. And I want to advise you to stay tuned, because next week we're back again in our Chi Academy with hair lamination.
We hope you have a lot of fun. My name is Richard Jordan.
My name is Patrick Kalle, and stay safe. Bye bye.